It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we got a bit of a beer battle between the biggest ruby ale in the UK versus probably the biggest selling brown ale in the UK. So we got Newcastle brown ale, 550 milliliter bottle at 4.7% ABV. It's quite interesting. That's more or less a full pint of beer there. Produced by Heineken, this one. Owned by Heineken. And the Ruby Ale, 5% ABV, Hobgoblin, owned by Carlsberg Marston's Brewing Company. So one is owned by Heineken, the other is owned by Carlsberg. Are either of them any good? As some of you have probably seen my review of Newcastle Brown Ale just a few years ago. I'm not the biggest fan of it. The question is Hobgoblin's Ruby beer. I've not had Hobgoblin for 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. Used to be £1 a bottle years ago. Both of these beers are about £1.50 in Tesco at the moment. So without further ado, let's get these beers out into a glass and see what we get. Some of you might be asking, why are you pairing a brown ale with a ruby ale? Well, there's not really another brown ale on the supermarket shelf, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I was looking in Tesco and I was looking for something to match Newcastle's brown ale. And all I could find, all I could kind of come up with was Hobgoblin. So there's the full beer in the glass. It's looking very dark, very brown. I reckon though that, and this is the reason why I've chosen to pair these two beers together, I think that this is going to be very similar in the colour. Hobgoblin, when I first tried it, when I was drinking this when it was out back in 2010, I thought was a gorgeous dark ale. Really good. Things have changed though. Things have changed with Hobgoblin. It's not the same beer as it once was. If you want to have a look at my video, can Hobgoblin versus bottle Hobgoblin, the can was fantastic. A far superior beer. So here we go then. One called a brown ale, one called a ruby ale. Guess what? And I thought this was going to happen. They look exactly the same. More or less exactly the same in colour. So let's get the aroma then on Newcastle brown ale. And first of all, there's no sediment in the bottom. It's a filtered ale, this one. Smells a little bit roasty, a little bit toasty. A little biscuity, dare I say. A little nutty. I'm quite impressed with the aroma actually. A little bit peppery and spicy and hoppy on the back end. Have Newcastle brown ale improved since I last reviewed it just about 3 years ago? Let's find out. Well, that's weird. That's really weird. I like that. That's quite tasty. I think they've changed the recipe. I reviewed one about 3 years ago and it was awful, awful, awful tasting beer. This is nutty, it's biscuity, tastes like a brown ale. That's really odd. That is really, really odd. Comment in the comments box. Have you drank Newcastle Brown Ale recently? Have you tried it? It's improved. It's improved. That's probably worth a review on its own, in its own right, because I gave the last bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale I reviewed a damn good slating. I really did. I'm thinking to myself now, that's not bad. It's nutty, it's roasty, it's biscuity, it's bready, it tastes like a brown ale. Now, I'm actually very, very happy about this. Ecstatic, actually, because if you're going to call something a brown ale, then please make it a brown ale. I think how I described Newcastle Brown Ale 3 years ago was a lager that had been coloured. It was tasting like a lager that had some brown dye in it. And it was truly awful. It was tinny, it was metallic. This is a completely different beer to the beer I drank just 3 years ago. I haven't got round to the Hobgoblin yet. Right, Hobgoblin then. Very similar colour. Again, it won't be a bottle condition. There won't be any sediment in the bottom of this. Let's get the aroma. A little bit more of a, I would say, a hop character coming through on this one. It's berry-like, berry hops coming through with that dark kind of roasty, toasty malt there. It smells very nice. Let's dive in. Cheers, everybody. Lovely and roasty, biscuity and bready. Nice hop character coming through. A little bit of plum, a little bit of fig, a little bit of prune. Yeah, that's a pretty decent beer. Not had it in years. Again, not had Hobgoblin in many years. For the price point, for the £1.50 I paid for both, £1.50 for the Newcastle, £1.50 for the Hobgoblin. They're worth the money. They are worth the money. I'd say, and I'm just going to confirm by just having a little bit of a taste of this brown ale from Newcastle. So the Hobgoblin has got a little bit more body. It's a little bit more rich. It's a little bit more full-bodied. There's a little bit more of a hop character coming through, and the roasted malt in the beer is coming through a little bit more. So Hobgoblin wins the battle between the two beers. I didn't do too bad in pairing the two beers together, I mean, they look exactly the same in terms of colour and look. But the real story, if you like, of this beer review is that Newcastle's brown ale has changed again, but it's been improved. It's been improved. It's so much more of it's so much better in terms of the beer. Now I would go as far as to say that I would buy that if I was kind of looking at, say, £1.50 beers like we've done today, you know, your lower end of the Richter scale in terms of price, having a bit of a cheap drink, if you like, then I mean, I'd probably buy a few bottles of Hobgoblin and a few bottles of Newcastle brown ale. I can't believe I'm saying it. I can't believe I'm saying it, because it was such a bad beer just a few years ago, was Newcastle brown ale, but it's improved beyond all recognition. It really has. So I'm going to rate the two beers. Newcastle brown ale looks pretty decent in the glass. Good lacing, nice aroma. Pretty decent taste. I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for the Newcastle brown ale. The Hobgoblin, again, looks good. It's just got a little bit more about it though, the Hobgoblin. Looks good, smells good. Tastes pretty good. Yeah, it's a better beer all round, but I mean, it's going to get an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. So before the video, I thought that Hobgoblin was going to absolutely annihilate Newcastle brown ale. How wrong was I? Story of this review, I'll say it again, is Newcastle brown ale has improved beyond all recognition. And I'm happy for that, because nobody wants to drink bad beer, do they? I hope you liked the video. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.